The ancient star map flickered and died as another solar system vanished from existence. Admiral Thane pressed his scaled claws against the command console while watching his homeworld's sun grow dimmer through the reinforced viewing portal. The Valeth Empire had ruled this sector for 3,000 years, but now their greatest cities lay in darkness as the power grids failed one by one. "Sir, the energy readings are impossible," his science officer reported with trembling tentacles. "The Devourers are not just consuming stellar matter. They are somehow feeding on the fundamental forces that keep atoms together." Thane had seen the reports from the outer colonies before communications went silent. Massive ships the size of moons appearing from the void between galaxies. They moved without engines or visible propulsion, yet traveled faster than anything in the known universe. When they reached a star system, the sun would simply begin to fade as if some invisible force was draining its nuclear fires. The worst part was how organized they seemed. These were not random destroyers, but something far more terrifying. They followed patterns that suggested intelligence and purpose. Each attack built upon the last, as if they were learning from every civilization they encountered. "How many systems have we lost in the past cycle?" Thane asked, though he dreaded the answer. 47. Confirmed dead zones, sir. The crystalline hierarchy reports similar losses in their territory. Even the Luminari have gone silent from 3 of their core worlds. Thane felt his blood chill at that news. The Luminari were beings of pure energy who could manipulate matter at the quantum level. If even they could not stand against these Devourers, then what hope did flesh and blood species have? A communication burst crackled through the ship's receivers. The voice that emerged spoke in the common galactic trade language, but carried an accent Thane did not recognize. "All vessels, this is Captain Williams of the Earth Defense Force. We are responding to your distress beacon and requesting permission to approach." The bridge crew exchanged confused glances. Earth was that small blue world on the galaxy's outer rim where a primitive species had only recently discovered faster-than-light travel. What could they possibly offer in humanity's darkest hour? "Earthling vessel," Thane replied, "you should retreat to your home system immediately. These waters are not safe for your kind." "With respect, Admiral," Captain Williams responded, "nowhere is safe anymore. We have been monitoring the situation and believe we may have information that could help." Before Thane could refuse, a new alarm sounded throughout the ship. The tactical display showed multiple contacts approaching from the outer system boundary. But these were not Devourer ships. The energy signatures were completely different. "Sir," the sensor operator called out, "I am reading 12 human vessels in formation. Their technology appears more advanced than our previous intelligence suggested." Thane studied the tactical readout with growing confusion. The human ships moved with precision that spoke of military discipline, but their design was unlike anything in the galactic databases. Sleek hull forms that seemed to bend light around them and energy signatures that defied conventional physics. "This is Admiral Thane of the Valeth Third Fleet. State your intentions, human." "Admiral, we request immediate conference with you and any other fleet commanders in the area. What we have to share concerns the survival of every living being in this galaxy." Despite his better judgment, Thane found himself agreeing to the meeting. Perhaps it was desperation, or perhaps something in the human captain's voice suggested they knew more about the current crisis than they should. The docking bay of Thane's flagship had never hosted human visitors before. When the airlock cycled open, he expected to see the primitive bipeds from the intelligence reports. Instead, 3 figures emerged wearing advanced environmental suits that seamlessly adapted to the ship's atmosphere. As they walked, Captain Williams removed her helmet, revealing features that were distinctly human but somehow more refined than Thane expected. Her eyes held an intelligence that seemed far older than her apparent age suggested. "Admiral, thank you for agreeing to this meeting," she said, extending her hand in the human greeting gesture. "What I'm about to tell you will sound impossible, but time is running short and lives hang in the balance." She activated a portable display device that projected a 3-dimensional star map. But this was not any map in the galactic archives. It showed the Milky Way galaxy as it existed millions of years ago, with stellar formations that had long since changed. The Devourers are not invaders, Williams began. They are part of a natural cycle that has repeated 6 times in galactic history. When civilizations reach a certain level of development and then stagnate, these entities appear to clear the way for new growth. Thane stared at the display showing ancient star patterns. How could your species possibly know this? Humans have only been spacefaring for 50 of your years. William smiled, but there was sadness in her expression. Because we are not the first humans, Admiral. Our species has walked among the stars before during previous cycles. And some of us never forgot. The display changed to show Earth's solar system, but not as Thane had ever seen it. Massive structures orbited in the outer regions, connected by streams of energy that formed geometric patterns around the sun itself. 12,000 years ago, when the last cycle reached its end, a group of humans made a choice, Williams continued. Rather than face extinction, they transformed themselves into something that could survive the culling. They became the guardians who have watched over our home system ever since. Impossible, Thane breathed. The energy requirements alone would exceed the output of a dozen stars. Not if you know how to make stars work together, Williams replied. The Guardians learned to treat solar systems not as collections of separate objects, but as single organisms capable of focused action. Another alarm sounded, and the display showed new contacts approaching, but these were not ships at all. They were structures the size of small planets moving under their own power from the direction of Earth's outer system. Admiral Williams said as the ancient guardians awakened after millennia of patient waiting, the real war is about to begin. Dr. Amanda Torres floated in the zero-gravity observation chamber of Europa station, watching Jupiter's great red spot churn through the reinforced transparent aluminum windows. The gas giant storms had raged for centuries, but now they seemed almost calm compared to the chaos erupting throughout human space. Emergency broadcasts flooded the communication channels as deep space monitoring posts detected massive energy surges from objects that had remained dormant since before human civilization began. Director, the energy output readings are climbing exponentially, reported Dr. Kim from the sensor station. His voice carried the tension that had gripped everyone since the first Guardian structure had awakened 3 days ago. We are detecting 12 primary objects arranged in a perfect geometric pattern around our solar system. Each one is now producing power levels equivalent to a small star. Torres pushed off from the window and glided toward the central display, where holographic representations of the solar system rotated slowly. Red dots marked the positions of the awakening guardians, while blue lines showed the complex energy web connecting them to each other and ultimately to Earth's sun. Have we established communication with any of the structures? She asked while studying the data streams flowing across multiple screens. Negative, Director. They respond to our signals, but only with mathematical sequences. Prime numbers, geometric ratios, and what our linguists think might be star charts from epochs before human written history. Torres felt a chill that had nothing to do with the station's life support systems. The implications of what they were discovering challenged everything. Humanity thought they knew about their place in the universe. These guardians had been waiting in the outer darkness for longer than human civilization had existed. The communication panel crackled to life with an incoming transmission from Earth. President Santos appeared on the main screen, looking exhausted, but determined. Dr. Torres, what is the status of the Guardian network? Madam President, the structures are approximately 40% active and the energy readings continue to climb. Based on current projections, they will reach full operational status within 18 hours. But we still do not know what they are designed to do or whether they represent a threat to Earth. Santos nodded grimly. We may have our answer soon. Long-range sensors show the Devourer fleet has changed course. They are heading directly for our solar system. The observation chamber fell silent except for the soft hum of life support systems. Torres felt the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders like a physical burden. Humanity stood at a crossroads between extinction and transformation, with forces beyond their comprehension, stirring to life around their home star. Director Dr. Kim called out urgently, "We are receiving a new transmission. The signal is originating from the Guardian structure designated Alpha 7 in the Kuiper Belt. Put it through." Torres ordered. The main display flickered and resolved into an image that made everyone in the chamber gasp. A human face looked back at them, but it was perfect in a way that suggested artificial enhancement or evolution beyond natural limits. The eyes held wisdom accumulated over millennia, and the voice that spoke seemed to carry the weight of ages. "Children of Earth," the being said, "I am Guardian Prime, first among those who watch over this system. The time of testing approaches, as we always knew it would. You have grown much since we began our long vigil, but growth alone will not be sufficient. For what is coming?" Torres found her voice despite the shock. "Who are you? What are you?" "We are what humanity was before the last culling," Guardian Prime replied. "When the Devourers came 6 cycles ago, our ancestors faced the same choice you face now. Submit to extinction or evolve beyond the limitations that make extinction possible." The image shifted to show star charts spanning galactic history. Civilizations rose and fell in accelerated time as the Devourers moved through the spiral arms, like cosmic gardeners pruning away growth that had become stagnant. "You speak as if this has happened before," President Santos interjected from Earth. "It has," Guardian Prime confirmed. "The galaxy undergoes periodic renewals when civilizations become too comfortable and cease to grow. The Devourers are not invaders, but part of a natural process that ensures life continues to evolve and expand rather than stagnating in comfortable mediocrity." Dr. Torres studied the ancient being's features, noting the subtle differences from normal human anatomy. "You transformed yourselves to survive the culling. But at what cost?" Guardian Prime's expression grew sad. "We gained immortality and power beyond imagination, but we lost something essential in the process. We ceased to be truly alive in the way that matters. We became guardians and watchers, but no longer participants in life's grand adventure." The display changed, again showing the approaching Devourer fleet as dark shapes moving between the stars, like predators stalking their prey. At their head was something vast beyond comprehension that seemed to absorb light itself. "The Prime Devourer," Guardian Prime said. "The first and most powerful of their kind. It has overseen the culling of galaxies and learned from the death of countless species. Defeating it will require more than weapons or technology. It will demand sacrifice on a scale your kind has never imagined." Torres felt her scientific training wrestling with the impossible concepts being presented. "What do you want from us?" "Partnership," Guardian Prime replied simply. "We have built the weapons necessary to face the Devourers, but we cannot use them alone. The Guardian Network requires living consciousness to guide it, minds capable of creativity and growth rather than mere calculation." President Santos leaned forward intently. "You are asking us to operate your weapons. I am asking you to become them," Guardian Prime corrected. "The defense of this system requires transformation on both sides. We must remember what it means to be truly alive, while you must accept evolution beyond your current limitations." The chamber shook suddenly as gravitational waves from the outer system reached Europa Station. Through the windows, Jupiter's great red spot began to change color as unknown forces manipulated the gas giant's massive magnetic field. "The network is entering its final activation phase," Guardian Prime announced. "You have 18 hours to decide whether humanity will face extinction as you are or transcend mortality to join us as eternal guardians of this galaxy." The transmission ended, leaving Torres and her team staring at empty space. Outside, Jupiter continued its ancient dance around the sun, unaware that its children faced a choice that would determine not just their survival, but the very nature of what they would become. Torres activated the communication link to Earth. "Madam President, we need to talk." Nexus Station blazed like a jewel against the cosmic darkness, its crystalline spires extending for hundreds of kilometers in all directions. The massive diplomatic facility had hosted negotiations between star-spanning empires for over 1,000,000 years, but never had it witnessed a gathering quite like this one. Representatives from nearly every sapient species in the galaxy crowded. The central amphitheater, their various forms of communication creating a symphony of sounds, lights, and energy patterns that stretched the universal translation systems to their limits. High Counselor Vex of the crystalline hierarchy refracted light through his mineral body in patterns of barely contained panic. His people had mastered the manipulation of matter at the molecular level, yet even their reality warping technology had proven useless against the advancing devourers. 3 of their core worlds had simply ceased to exist, leaving behind empty space where suns had burned for billions of years. The Outer Rim species bring nothing but desperation, Vex transmitted to his fellow counselors through quantum-linked thoughts. What wisdom can primitives offer when civilizations millions of years their senior have already failed? Archon Zelther floated at the center of the amphitheater, his energy-based form pulsing with the weight of eons. As the eldest member of the Galactic Council, he had witnessed the rise and fall of countless civilizations, but never had he felt such existential dread. The Devourers represented something beyond mere conquest or destruction. They were erasure itself, given form and purpose. "The humans request an audience," announced Coordinator Blix through bioluminescent patterns across her cephalopod skin. "Their fleet has just entered the outer system perimeter." A ripple of dismissive sounds swept through the assembled delegates. Humanity was barely 50 years removed from their first contact with galactic civilization. Their technology was primitive, their understanding of cosmic forces limited to basic physics, and their military consisted of a few dozen vessels that most species would classify as system patrol craft. Admiral Thane of the Valeth Empire studied the tactical displays showing the approaching human fleet. Only 12 ships, but something about their formation triggered memories he could not quite place. They flew with a precision and purpose that seemed oddly familiar, as if he had seen such formations before in historical archives or half-remembered dreams. "Let them speak," Archon Zelther declared. "In our darkest hour, even the smallest voice may carry wisdom we have overlooked." The amphitheater's main display activated, showing the bridge of a human vessel. President Santos appeared surrounded by her military advisors, their faces showing the strain of leading a species facing extinction. Behind them, Dr. Torres monitored data streams flowing in from across the galaxy as star systems continued to vanish at an accelerating pace. "Honored Counselor," Santos began, her voice carrying clearly through the translation matrix, "we come not as supplicants begging for salvation, but as partners offering hope." The statement provoked immediate reactions from the assembled delegates. Counselor Vex blazed with insulted light, while several species began transmitting objections through their respective communication methods. "Hope," Vex's crystalline voice cut through the noise. "Your species has existed for barely a moment in galactic time. Your homeworld circles a star we did not bother to catalog until recently. What hope could you possibly offer that we have not already considered?" Dr. Torres stepped forward, activating a portable projection device that filled the amphitheater's center with a 3-dimensional image. The assembled delegates fell silent as they recognized the face looking back at them. Human in basic structure, but refined beyond current limitations, with eyes that held the wisdom of ages. "This is Guardian Prime," Santos announced. "First among the ancients who once ruled this galaxy before the last culling." The reaction was immediate and chaotic. Delegates erupted in alarm, their various forms of communication creating sensory overload as translation systems struggled to process the flood of panicked transmissions. Several species began evacuating their positions, while others trained weapons on the human delegation. "Impossible," Admiral Thane's voice carried above the noise. "The ancients were destroyed by the Devourers eons ago. Their entire civilization was erased from existence." "No," Torres replied, her voice steady despite the hostile crowd. "They evolved beyond physical existence, choosing transcendence over extinction. The Guardians are not our conquerors, but our predecessors. They are us, grown beyond our current limitations and transformed by necessity into something capable of surviving the cosmic cycle." High Priest Korvac of the Luminary Order pulsed with shock, his energy form flickering between dimensions. "The ancients wielded power beyond comprehension. They could reshape reality with focused will and travel between galaxies as easily as walking between rooms. Your species can barely manage controlled fusion reactions because we are young, Santos explained. But we carry the same potential they once possessed, the same capacity for growth that allowed them to transcend physical death and become eternal. Guardians of the Galaxy, Guardian Prime's image began to speak, though no transmission signals were detected by the station's sensors. Council of Worlds, we meet again, though few among you are old enough to remember our last gathering. I see familiar faces changed by time, but not by wisdom. Archon Zelther's ancient form trembled with recognition. Guardian Prime, we thought your people lost to the void forever. We were never lost, old friend, merely patient. The Devourers serve a purpose in the cosmic order, pruning civilizations that have grown stagnant and comfortable. They force evolution through adversity or grant the mercy of extinction to those who cannot adapt. And if we refuse to evolve, Counselor Vex demanded, Guardian. Prime's expression conveyed infinite sadness despite its perfect features. Then the stars go dark and the galaxy begins anew with whatever life emerges from the ashes. As it has 6 times before in the cycle of renewal, the amphitheater fell completely silent as the implications sank in. In the distance, through the station's transparent walls, they could see the darkness spreading as another star system succumbed to the advancing Devourers. The choice is before you, Santos said into the quiet. Stand together under the Guardian's guidance and face the Devourers as a unified force, or fall separately as countless civilizations have done before, but understand this. The testing has already begun and time grows short. Dr. Torres manipulated her display, showing tactical projections of the Devourer fleet's advance. Based on current movement patterns, the enemy will reach the core systems within 1 standard cycle. If we are going to act, it must be now, Guardian. Prime's image flickered as massive energy readings registered throughout the galaxy. The network is awakening across all inhabited systems. Ancient defenses built during the last cycle are coming online, but they require conscious guidance to function. Mortals must choose the path while Guardians provide the power to walk it. What are you asking of us? Archon Zelther inquired. Everything, Guardian Prime replied. The defense of the galaxy requires transformation on a scale never before attempted. You must choose not just whether to fight, but what you are willing to become in order to win. The cosmic darkness pressed closer as another star winked out in the distance, and the assembled representatives of galactic civilization faced a decision that would determine whether sapient life would continue to exist or fade into the eternal night of extinction. The journey back to Earth took on the character of a pilgrimage as the human fleet grew from 12 ships to over 200 vessels. Species after species chose to follow rather than remain with the fractured Galactic Council. Some came as believers in humanity's ancient connection to the Guardians, while others arrived as refugees fleeing homeworlds. Already consumed by the advancing darkness, General Walsh stood in the tactical command center aboard the flagship, determination watching the mixed armada maintain formation through hyperspace. Crystalline hierarchy dreadnoughts flew alongside Valeth war cruisers, while energy-based luminary vessels phased in and out of normal space dimensions. The sight would have been impossible to imagine just weeks ago, when humanity was considered little more than galactic newcomers. Status report. From all fleet elements, she requested from the communications officer. All vessels report ready, General. The crystalline hierarchy has committed 3 of their reality-warping dreadnoughts, and Admiral Thane brought the entire Valeth Third Fleet, even High Priest Korvik of the Luminari. Oder has pledged his temple ships to our cause. Walsh nodded grimly while studying tactical displays showing the Devourer advance across the galaxy. Red zones marked star systems that had gone dark in just the past few days. The enemy was not merely consuming stellar matter, but seemed to be learning and adapting with each victory. Any word from the Guardian network? She asked. Dr. Torres looked up from her monitoring station, where streams of data flowed in from across the solar system. Energy readings are off the charts, General. Whatever the Guardians are preparing, it is affecting space-time itself. We are detecting gravitational anomalies around Jupiter and Saturn, while objects in the Kuiper Belt are moving under their own Power, the ship's intercom crackled to life with an announcement from President Santos. All senior staff to the main briefing room immediately. We have received new intelligence from Guardian Prime. The briefing room had been modified to accommodate representatives from multiple alien species. Environmental systems maintained separate atmospheric zones while translation matrices ensured that all forms of communication could be understood by everyone present. The diversity would have been remarkable under normal circumstances, but now it simply underscored the desperation that had brought them together. Guardian Prime materialized at the center of the room, not as a hologram but as a physical presence that seemed to bend reality around itself. His form was more clearly visible, now revealing the subtle differences from baseline humanity that marked his evolutionary transformation. Time grows short, he announced without preamble. The Devourers have consumed sufficient stellar matter to power their final assault. They will reach this system within 72 standard hours. President Santos studied the ancient being with a mixture of awe and apprehension. What do you need from us, Guardian Prime? Everything you are, and everything you might become, he replied. The transformation we underwent millions of years ago granted us power beyond imagination, but at a terrible cost. We gained immortality and the ability to manipulate fundamental forces, yet we lost something essential in the process. He gestured toward a display showing Earth hanging like a blue jewel against the starfield. We became guardians and watchers, but ceased to be truly alive in ways that matter. We can calculate optimal strategies and manipulate cosmic forces, but we cannot create or grow or surprise ourselves with unexpected solutions. Dr. Torres felt understanding dawn like a cold sunrise. You need us to complete the weapon system, not complete. Activate and guide. Guardian Prime corrected. The Guardian Network is the weapon, but it requires living consciousness to direct it. Minds capable of creativity and intuitive leaps rather than mere computation. Admiral Thane's scaled features showed confusion. What exactly would we be controlling? The briefing room's display activated, showing something that defied comprehension. The solar system appeared as seen from outside, with Earth's sun at the center, but massive structures now orbited in complex geometric patterns. Lines of pure energy connected installations the size of small moons, while the planets themselves had been repositioned to form precise mathematical relationships. A stellar engineering project 12 millennia in the making, Guardian Prime explained. We have transformed your entire solar system into a weapon capable of channeling forces that operate beyond conventional physics. But it requires moment-by-moment decisions that only living minds can provide. Santos stared at the display in wonder and terror. You have turned our sun into a weapon, not a weapon. An instrument of focused will, Guardian Prime replied. The Devourers consume stellar energy because they understand stars as simple fusion reactors. They cannot comprehend what a star becomes when guided by intelligence and consciousness working in perfect harmony. The display shifted to show the approaching enemy fleet. Thousands of dark shapes moved between the stars like cosmic predators, while at their head loomed something that dwarfed gas giants and pulsed with malevolent intelligence. The Prime Devourer, Guardian Prime's voice carried notes of ancient fear, the first and greatest of their kind. It has overseen the culling of galaxies and learned from the destruction of countless civilizations. Victory will require more than superior firepower. He turned to face the assembled leaders directly. You must choose President Santos. Your species can remain as you are and face extinction with dignity, or accept transformation and become something the galaxy has never seen. Before General Walsh stepped forward, her expression grim. What kind of transformation? Consciousness expansion beyond the limits of biological neural networks. Integration with the Guardian Network until the boundary between human and ancient becomes meaningless, Guardian Prime explained. You would gain our power and longevity, but lose your current forms and much of what you consider individual identity. The briefing room fell silent except for the soft hum of life. Support systems. Outside, the viewport stars continued their ancient dance while the mixed fleet held formation and Earth rotated peacefully, unaware that its Children faced a choice between extinction and transcendence. Santos looked around the room, meeting the eyes of her advisors and alien allies. She saw her own uncertainty reflected in their faces, along with the weight of responsibility for entire civilizations. "How long do we have to decide?" she asked. "The choice must be made when the Devourers enter the outer system," Guardian Prime replied. "At that moment, you will either accept our gift and join us as eternal guardians, or face the darkness with only your current limitations." His form began to fade as energy readings spiked throughout the solar system. "Choose wisely, children of Earth. The survival of sapient life throughout the galaxy depends on your decision." The Devourers emerged from hyperspace like nightmares, given form, their massive hulks blotting out the distant stars as they swept into the outer reaches of the solar system. Each vessel defied conventional understanding of physics, moving without visible propulsion systems, yet achieving velocities that should have been impossible. At their head, the Prime Devourer dominated the tactical displays, a writhing mass of dark matter and corrupted energy that seemed to bend space itself around its presence. President Santos floated in the zero-gravity command center that had been hastily constructed in Luna's ancient lava tubes. Around her, representatives from 17 different species worked alongside human technicians, while holographic displays showed the approaching apocalypse in terrifying detail. The mixed fleet that had followed them from Nexus Station was already engaging the enemy's advanced scouts, buying precious time with their lives. "Outer perimeter is holding, but barely," reported General Walsh from her tactical station. "We are losing ships faster than tactical projections indicated. The Devourers are adapting to our weapons in real time." Santos watched as bright points of light representing allied vessels winked out one by one on the display. Each loss meant hundreds or thousands of beings who had chosen to trust humanity's connection to the ancient guardians. The weight of their sacrifice pressed down on her like a physical burden. Dr. Torres monitored the awakening Guardian network from her position at the central console. Energy readings flowed across dozens of screens, showing power levels that challenged the instrument's ability to measure them. "The transformation is nearly complete, Madam President. Guardian Prime is requesting final authorization for consciousness integration." Through the reinforced transparent aluminum windows, Santos could see Earth hanging in space like a perfect blue marble. Billions of humans went about their daily lives, unaware that their species faced a choice between extinction and evolution into something beyond current understanding. "Status of the Guardian Network?" Santos asked. "All installations are online and drawing power directly from the sun's core," Torres reported. "We are detecting massive gravitational distortions throughout the outer system. Jupiter and Saturn have been moved from their original orbits to create focusing arrays for whatever weapon system the Guardians have constructed." An alarm chimed as new contacts appeared on long-range sensors. The Prime Devourer had crossed Neptune's orbital path and was accelerating toward the inner system. Behind it came thousands of lesser Devourers arranged in formations that suggested tactical intelligence rather than mere hunger. "Ma'am," Walsh called out urgently, "the enemy fleet will reach Mars orbit in 6 hours. We need to make the decision now." Santos closed her eyes, feeling the weight of every human life that would be affected by her choice. Accept the Guardian's offer of transformation and humanity would survive but cease to exist in any recognizable form. Refuse and face extinction with their souls intact. "Guardian Prime," she spoke into the communication system, "humanity accepts your gift. Do what you must." The response came not through speakers but directly into their minds, a warm presence that felt both alien and familiar. "Then let us begin the final evolution." Reality began to reshape itself around Earth's solar system as the Guardian Network revealed its true purpose. What had appeared to be defensive installations were actually components of the most complex machine ever conceived, designed to weaponize the fundamental forces of existence itself. Planets moved from their ancient orbits with impossible precision, while streams of energy flowed between installations, creating geometric patterns that hurt to look at directly. Santos felt the transformation beginning within her consciousness. expanding beyond the confines of her biological brain to touch something vast and ancient. For a moment she understood everything, the true nature of cosmic cycles, the purpose behind the devourers, endless culling, and the price that evolution demanded from those who chose growth over stagnation. The weapon that humanity and the Guardians had become charged to full power, drawing energy not just from Earth's sun but from the quantum foam that underlied all existence. Space-time itself became malleable in the hands of beings who had transcended physical limitations while retaining the creative spark that made consciousness possible. Fire, Santos whispered, though she was no longer certain if the word emerged from her lips or directly from her transformed awareness. The discharge was not visible light or conventional energy, but something far more fundamental. Reality rewrote itself around the prime devourer, erasing the ancient entity from existence with the finality of editorial deletion. Where the massive creature had dominated space, only empty void remained, as if it had never existed at all. The lesser devourers, suddenly cut off from their guiding intelligence, began behaving erratically. Some attempted retreat while others continued attacking in random directions. The surviving ships of the Allied fleet pressed their advantage, destroying the confused remnants with methodical precision. In the aftermath, as debris from ancient enemies scattered throughout the outer system, Santos found herself existing in a state that transcended physical space. Around her, the other transformed humans appeared as beings of light and consciousness, their mortal forms left behind like discarded clothing. Guardian Prime approached, no longer seeming ancient and separate, but recognizably connected to their shared human heritage. Welcome, sisters and brothers. The trial is complete, and the galaxy is preserved for another age. But our vigil has only begun. Santos, or the consciousness that had been Santos, understood with perfect clarity. They were no longer human in any biological sense, but they carried humanity's essence forward into a form capable of protecting the galaxy from threats beyond imagination. They had become guardians themselves, charged with ensuring that life and consciousness could continue to grow and evolve without fear of cosmic predators. Below them on Earth, the survivors looked up at stars that seemed somehow brighter than before. They would rebuild, explore, and eventually take their place among the galactic community as equals rather than junior partners. And watching over them from the transformed solar system would be protectors who remembered what it meant to be mortal, even as they had transcended mortality's limitations. The ancient cycle of culling and renewal was broken, replaced by something unprecedented in galactic history. A species had chosen transformation over extinction, evolution over stagnation, and in doing so had become guardians not just of their own world, but of all worlds where consciousness might one day bloom. The stars no longer went dark at the approach of cosmic predators. Instead, they blazed with new purpose, illuminated by beings who had sacrificed everything while losing nothing that truly mattered. Humanity had passed its ultimate test and emerged as something the galaxy had never seen before, protectors who could guide without conquering and defend without destroying. The darkness that had threatened to consume everything now retreated before the light of evolved consciousness, and the galaxy entered a new age, where growth and creativity could flourish. Under the watchful care of Earth's ancient defenders, finally awakened to their true purpose,